Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into some really interesting source material. It's excerpts from a video, YouTubevideo.mp4.
Right.
And it gives us this glimpse into a potential future city, Nova Lumen, set in 2100. And honestly, the vision it paints is, it's pretty striking.
It really is. The video sets up this world of, stark contrasts almost immediately. You've got these shiny, sustainable high-rises on one side.
Yeah, lots of green, looks very clean.
Exactly. And then, almost jarringly, the other side feels like it's in decline. You see cracked pavement, the air looks thick, graffiti everywhere, suggesting people are, not happy.
It's a city divided, quite literally.
Visually, yes.
And the core reason for this divide, which is what makes it so fascinating and maybe a bit disturbing, is that your life, your future in Nova Lumen isn't really about your talent or how hard you work, not in the way we think about it now anyway.
No, it seems much more deterministic.
It's largely set by your interest rate rating. And this rating is displayed publicly on a wearable device they call a rat link.
And that's the fascinating bit, isn't it? How this abstract financial idea, the interest rate becomes this really concrete, powerful force.
It dictates everything.
It seems so. It's not just about loans anymore. It controls access to basics, shapes the whole social order. So our goal here in this deep dive is to unpack how that works in Nova Lumen.
And what we might learn from it.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start with that visual split. The drone shots in the video, they really hammer home these two realities.
They do.
You see these amazing vertical gardens, clean air, people moving easily in one zone. Then boom, you cut to a different place.
Totally different feel. Cracked streets, like you said. And that graffiti.
Yeah, the messages are blunt, lower the rates. Oxygen is freedom. And the one that really hits home, interest rates equals destiny.
And the masks. Almost everyone in those lower zones is wearing some kind of mask.
Right, suggesting the air quality is a major issue.
The visuals are powerful. Abundance versus decay. Cleanliness versus pollution. It directly links wealth, or rather a good rating, to a healthy environment.
And the graffiti is like the voice of the people stuck in that system calling out the unfairness.
Definitely.
And the video stresses this isn't just about neighborhoods. This divide maps directly onto those rat link numbers, your interest rate.
Which brings us to the Almeida family. The video uses their story to make this abstract concept feel very real, very human.
Yeah, they're kind of a microcosm of this whole society.
Right, spanning 3 generations. You see how this interest rate system has impacted each of them, carrying forward the weight of past financial events. Let's start with Maria, the grandmother.
Okay, so Maria, back in the 2060s, she owned a successful textile shop. Sounded like a real local hub.
A dream realized, you could say.
But then the video mentions a global spike in lending rates. And her business loans, they were variable rate.
Dangerous territory in a volatile market.
Exactly. They shot up, climbed above 12%, it says, and suddenly it just wasn't viable anymore. She had to close down in 2071.
You feel that loss, the loss of her dream, her business, and you can imagine how that experience would make her son wary.
For sure. Her story shows how vulnerable even established businesses can be to these big macroeconomic shifts. Central banks tighten things up, rates go up, and boom.
Your variable rate loan suddenly becomes an anchor. It's a clear warning sign embedded in their family history.
So her son, Roberto, he saw what happened and clearly decided education was the safer path, his way to avoid that kind of financial ruin.
He saw it as his shield, but then irony strikes again.
Yeah. The video points out that tuition fees just skyrocketed right when there was monetary tightening. Central banks trying to control inflation.
So he needed student loans.
He took them out. But by the time he graduated, this was 2085, interest rates had climbed again. His debt had nearly doubled.
Wow, so the very thing meant to protect him became its own trap.
Pretty much. And that debt load limited his job choices, affected family planning. Now, his rat link is stuck at 3.2.
Which means
he's basically confined to these high-risk zones, poor resources, likely poor air quality, fewer opportunities.
Roberto's story really highlights how long the shadow of debt can be, especially when interest rates keep rising. His low score just keeps that cycle going.
Okay, so now we have the third generation. Roberto's kids, Elena and Mateo. Elena's 24, ambitious, wants to be the climate engineer.
A vital job, you'd think.
Totally. She wants to reforest biozones, restore coastlines, work on solar grids, important stuff. But her rat link is 4.8.
Which sounds okay. Not great, maybe, but not terrible like her dad's.
You'd think so. But the video explains that even 4.8 isn't good enough. It restricts her access to the best scholarships, to getting loans with decent terms. So her dreams are effectively on hold.
So the system designed to manage financial risk is actually hindering solutions to actual existential risks, like climate change.
Seems that way. It's a harsh irony. Her potential is limited by her perceived financial risk profile.
Even a mid-tier score creates real barriers. It's not just about avoiding the bottom, it's about accessing the top, too.
And then there's her brother, Matteo. He's 22. Got this vision for a green tech store, smart composters, algae lamps. Sounds cool.
Innovative stuff. Good for the environment, too.
Right. But his rat link is even higher risk, 5.7.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So the system flags him as high risk. He gets denied permits to open his shop in the areas where it might actually succeed, the higher opportunity districts.
So even basic business decisions, like where to locate, are filtered through borrowing costs and risk ratings.
It stifles that entrepreneurial spark, especially if you don't start with advantages. Valuable tech might never reach people because the inventor is deemed too risky.
And it keeps those potentially beneficial green technologies out of the mainstream.
What really gets me about the Almeidas is this core tension. For them, opportunity isn't something you just earn through effort anymore.
No, it has a price tag attached, a literal interest rate.
And they're different numbers. Maria's history, Roberto's debt, Elena's okay but not great score, Matteo's high risk.
Well,
it creates these invisible walls within the family.
Despite everything they share, that rat link becomes this wedge, dividing them based on financial metrics. It's a really stark departure from how we think about family support.
Okay, let's talk more about this rat link itself. The video's clear. It's way more than just loan applications.
Oh, yeah. It dictates your whole socioeconomic trajectory.
Access to housing is a big one. Where you can live.
Definitely. And healthcare access, too. Business credit, obviously. Even apparently how much you pay for public transport.
It's like a total social credit system, but based purely on financial risk. Access to pretty much everything depends on this one number.
And it's not a fixed number, right? It's dynamic.
Constantly updating. In real time, the video suggests it's a mix of your personal credit actions, yes, but also
generational debt, your family's financial history,
and even the wider economy, like central bank interest rate decisions. Things completely outside your control.
It makes your financial standing feel incredibly precarious. You're subject to your own choices, your family's past, and these huge external forces. There's very little stability there.
Which leads to this really troubling idea in the video. Inherited financial destinies.
Right. Elena and Matteo aren't just dealing with their own situations. They're still feeling the effects of Maria's shop closing decades ago and Roberto's student debt.
The video calls it a digital legacy of distrust. It's like a financial ghost haunting the family.
It suggests upward mobility is incredibly difficult, maybe almost impossible, if your family history carries that kind of burden. Disadvantage gets locked in across generations.
It's like money isn't just currency, it's your history, your identity, almost. And it follows you everywhere.
And the video explicitly links this to rising interest rates, saying they just make all this inequality worse.
Makes sense. If everything costs more to borrow, those already struggling fall further behind. Those healthier eco-zones become even more unattainable.
The rates act like a multiplier on the existing stratification. Makes it harder to climb out. Potentially even increases your risk score if you fall behind on payments due to rising costs. It's a vicious cycle.
And you see the physical result in the poorer zones. The video shows cracked streets again, broken air purifiers, warnings about tainted water, dim lighting.
It's a visual manifestation of systemic underfunding tied to those ratings. Your financial score literally impacts your physical health and safety.
And life expectancy, the video notes.
A grim correlation. It's not just economic disparity, it's a disparity in basic well-being.
Then there's this policy twist. Relocation credits.
Ah, yes, the supposed lifeline.
Sounds good at first glance. One person per low-income family can get a credit to move to an oxygen-rich zone, but only if their rat link is below 4.5.
Very specific threshold.
And the catch is huge. It's non-transferable. And the rest of the family, they're banned from relocating for 10 years.
10 years. It's unbelievably harsh. It forces an impossible choice on families.
It's cruel, really. It seems designed to break families apart, not help them, prioritizing individual escape over collective well-being.
It fundamentally undermines the idea of family unity.
And look how it plays out for the Almeidas. It's just devastating. Maria's rate is 6.1, way too high, likely due to past debts, maybe medical bills, missed payments mentioned.
So she's out.
Roberto, despite working hard for years, is at 5.9. probably weighed down by his old debt and maybe health issues from living in polluted areas.
So he's out too.
Elena, she's at 4.4. She disqualifies. Barely.
The only one.
The only one. Mateo, with his entrepreneurial dreams, is at 4.8. Ineligible.
Wow. So only Elena has this chance.
And it highlights the absurdity. They seem to have done everything right by the old rules study, work hard, but they're trapped by systemic bias, past economic shocks, unpredictable inflation, things way beyond their control.
Their situation just perfectly captures how the system penalizes people despite their best efforts. It's not about merit. It's about a risk score shaped by history and external factors.
And you can just imagine the tension this creates within the family. This impossible choice lands squarely on Elena.
Old wounds, resentments, they must surface. How can they not?
Their unity starts cracking under the strain. And meanwhile, those little rat-link devices just keep humming, displaying the cold numbers. No compassion, just calculation.
It redefines family based on probability and risk scores. It's dehumanizing.
It really drives home how upward mobility has eroded in Nova Lumen. The video contrasts it with the past, the idea that hard work and education were the path.
Now, interest rates are like invisible fences penning people in.
Every mistake, every bit of bad luck financially becomes this long-term drag. Low ratings are inherited burdens.
And they start early. The video mentions putting rat-link bans on children, measuring financial risk from childhood instead of potential.
It's chilling. The result is this funneling system. Low-rated individuals and families pushed into crowded, polluted zones.
While the high-rated, or perhaps just the lucky, ascend to privilege. Cleaner air, better resources.
Freedom feels stifled, replaced by this rigid, calculated order that seems to prioritize efficiency or risk management over actual human lives.
It's a deeply unsettling picture of social stratification becoming not just accepted, but engineered into the system.
Okay, so we've seen the struggle through the Almeidas. But the video also shows the flip side, right? The people thriving in this system. It gives the example of Dario.
Ah, Dario. Yes. He's doing well. But the video is clear it's not just effort.
No, there's significant inherited advantage. His grandparents were bankers back when interest rates were low. He inherited a spotless credit history.
Which in Nova Lumen is like inheriting a fortune. It unlocks everything.
So for him, buying property is easy. Education. Debt-free. He invests successfully in tech, including, ironically, in Ratlink itself.
Of course. Benefiting from the very system that creates the disparity. His experience is the mirror image of the Almeidas. Success enabled by history and low risk.
And his viewpoint is telling. He sees rising interest rates almost like a good thing. Filters, he calls them.
Doesn't seem to question the systemic disadvantages others face. It's easy to rationalize the system when you're winning, I suppose.
It highlights that social fragmentation. Those at the top might not even see the struggles of those below, or they justify it.
Which brings us to that really powerful moment with Elena, standing before the relocation council.
Yeah, the climax of their story in the video. Her Ratlink is humming softly, that 4.4. It represents hope, but also this terrible choice.
The promise of breathable air, the chance to pursue her climate engineering dream. It's right there.
But then you picture her family, watching on some flickering screen back in their polluted apartment. Mateo clenching his jaw, Maria nervously wringing her hands, maybe the oxygen masks nearby.
It's an incredibly poignant image. The stark contrast between her potential escape and their continued confinement.
That internal conflict must be immense. Survival versus loyalty. Choosing herself versus abandoning her family to that environment for 10 years.
It really hammers home the point. In this world, love, family ties, they aren't enough. They can't guarantee survival when the system is built on credit scores and inherited advantage.
The economic system itself has become the force fracturing the family.
It's a tragic conclusion to their arc in the video, highlighting the human cost when financial metrics override compassion and connection.
So, pulling it all together, this video, YouTube video.mp4, it really does paint this stark, frankly, quite disturbing future, where interest rates aren't just an economic tool, they're a dominant social force.
Shaping lives, creating deep inequalities. It serves as a potent cautionary tale.
Illustrating what could happen if financial metrics become the primary determinant of opportunity and worth.
Exactly.
And it's interesting, the shift at the very end of the video, it moves from this bleak future vision
to practical advice for today.
Right. It starts talking about managing your credit score now, almost saying, okay, that future is grim, but here's how you navigate the present where similar forces are at play. It quotes, Your credit score is your passport to opportunity.
Which connects Nova Lumen directly back to us. While it's fiction, you see echoes, right? Access to loans, mortgages, insurance premiums, they're influenced by our financial profiles already.
Absolutely. The link is there, even if it's not as extreme as a rat link.
So the advice it gives, understanding your score, payment history being key, watching credit utilization.
Avoiding unnecessary debt, building an emergency fund, being careful co-signing.
Seeking financial education. It's all solid advice for navigating our current financial systems.
It underlines that even though Nova Lumen is hypothetical, financial literacy and responsible management are genuinely crucial now.
They really are.
It reinforces that broader idea. Financial health isn't just about pounds and pence or dollars and cents. It's about power. It's about freedom, your ability to make choices about your future.
And the video ends on a slightly hopeful note, despite the grim future it showed. It suggests that even with past struggles, making smart choices now can make a difference.
Yeah, it emphasizes agency. You might be in a tough spot, but proactive planning, learning, it matters. It's not entirely deterministic yet.
There's still room for positive change through informed action.
So, perhaps the final thought to leave you with, reflecting on Nova Lumen, is to consider the ways, maybe subtle, maybe not so subtle, that economic forces and financial systems might already be shaping opportunities and futures around us.
And thinking about what responsibility we have as individuals, and maybe collectively, to push for a system that feels more equitable, more human than the one Nova Lumen depicts.
Definitely gives you a lot to mull over.